In the 1960s and 1970s, the gay liberation movement gained traction, and Sylvia Rivera was one of the most prominent figures of the movement. Rivera often spoke out about the exclusion of people of color and transgender people from the LGBTQ+ community. In order to make change, Rivera worked together with fellow activist Marsha P. Johnson. They both played a major role in the gay liberation movement.
Sylvia Rivera was born in New York City in 1951 and faced a difficult childhood. She was abandoned by her father and was then orphaned at the age of 3 and was raised by her grandmother. Rivera ran away from home at 11, and while living on the streets, she met a group of drag queens. She considered herself transgender later in life, but didn't like labels. At 17 years old, she took part in the Stonewall riots. As a trans Latina, Rivera was an outlier among the Caucasian gay and lesbian activists and faced discrimination even within the queer community.
I have been beaten. I have had my nose broken. I have been thrown in jail. I have lost my job. I have lost my apartment for gay liberation.
Marsha P. Johnson was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey in 1945 and was the fifth of 7 children. She eventually arrived in New York and was 17 when she met Sylvia, who was just 11 years old at the time. Sylvia thought of Marsha as a mother figure, and they were very close. Like many other queer activists living on the streets of New York City in the 1960s, they leaned on each other in the absence of family. Together, they started STAR, a house to help young homeless transgender people by giving them a home, which was the first LGBTQ youth shelter. STAR started off as Marsha and Sylvia taking care of a group of transgender kids living in the back of an abandoned truck. When the truck was towed away with sleeping children still inside, they decided instead to rent an apartment and create a shelter for those kids in need.
STAR, besides being the first LGBTQ+ youth shelter in North America, was also the first LGBTQ+ organization led by trans women of color in the U.S. and the first trans sex worker labor organization. Though the STAR house was short-lived, its effects were impactful. Rivera told people that she and Marsha went out and hustled to pay rent, feed, and clothe the kids, as they didn't want the kids to have to hustle anymore. The goal for Star House was ultimately for these young kids to hopefully learn enough skills to start another kind of life. Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera left a lasting impact on the LGBTQ+ community. They were the first in a generation to speak out and pave the way for future trans activists to make a change. Trans activists today, such as actor Teleman and Montana State Representative Zoe Zephyr, continue to work tirelessly towards the equality and acceptance of trans people today.
Was up and said, "There is blood on your hands." I was not being hyperbolic. I was speaking to the real consequences of the votes that we as legislators take in this body. And when the speaker asks me to apologize, what he is, on behalf of decorum, what he is really asking me to do is be silent when my community is facing bills that get us killed. He's asking me to be complicit in this legislature's eradication of our community, and I refuse to do so.